Hey all, welcome to Unit 8 and then Unit 7 for Pre-Algebra Advanced. This is your last and final unit of the year. And today we are going to go back and review mean, median, mode, and range, which are all measures of central tendency. Measures of central tendency take a big long list of data, of numbers, and they kind of give you an indication of what the whole data set looks like just with one number. And I'll show you the difference between all of those. Our first measure of central tendency is mean, which also means average. I always used to joke with kids that we call it mean because it is kind of mean and it takes the most work to figure out. The actual definition of the mean is the sum of the data divided by the number of data items. So I am going to look at our information here from ice cream treats sold in the cafeteria, and I'm going to focus on week 2. So I'm going to look at the numbers and the results of week 2 of how many ice cream treats were sold each day, and I'm going to find the average. So to do that, I have to add all of them up. So I am going to take all of my numbers and find my sum. So I'm going to take 6 plus 8 plus 4 plus 8 plus 8 plus 0. And you do have to include that 0 in your data set because on a day that they sell none, it's still important to include in your average. So you're going to add those up. And your sum of those numbers, I'm gonna use a shortcut here. I see that I have 3 8s. 3 times 8 is 24. And 24 plus 6 is 30. And then plus 4 is 34. Plus 0 is still 34. So I'm going to take my sum, which is 34, and then you divide that by the total number of data items. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers that you use. So you're going to take 34 and divide that by 6. So take 34, divide it by 6, and you want a decimal. So no more using remainders. We're done with remainders. You always use a decimal from now on. So 34 divided by 6. 6 goes into 34 5 times. You subtract, do that math, add your decimal, drop your 0. 6 goes into 40. 6 times, that's 36, and you can see we're going to get a repeating number. And you can probably, for right now, just round all of these to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to round one place after the decimal, and my 6 tells my first 6 to go to a 7. So my average is 5.7. So the average number of ice cream treats that the cafeteria sold every day would be 5.7. Our next measure of central tendency is the median. Median sounds like the word medium, and something that is medium means it's in the middle. So the median, the actual definition, is the middle number in the data set. So what you need to do, or what you want to do, is put these in order. Usually from in increasing order. So this time I'm going to look at my data set from week 1. Because I'm looking for my median number of ice cream treats sold in week 1. So I'm just going to look at those numbers and I'm going to list them in order. So I have 3, then I have 4, 5, 9, 9, 10. And once you have them in order, you find the one in the middle. If you look, this list has 6 numbers, so it doesn't have one number in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way to the middle by crossing off my extremes, or my n numbers. And I work myself into the middle numbers, which is 5 and 9. And what you want to do is find the number in the middle of these two. This one you might be able to do in your head. The number 7 sits right between 5 and 9. However, you're going to start working with data sets that it does not work out that easily. So you just find the average. Well, as stated previously, to find the average, you add these up. So you would take 5 plus 9 and divide it by 2 because you're working with 2 numbers now. So that is the same thing as 14 divided by 2, which is 7. So the median of number of ice cream treats sold during week 1 would be 7. We also have mode when describing a data set, and mode sounds like the word most. So the definition of mode is the number that appears most in a data set. So this time we are going to look at all weeks. So we are going to look at weeks 1 and 2. So we have to look at all of those numbers. And I'm going to look for the number that appears most often. And if you look, I see one that appears more often than any other, and it is the number 8. The number 8 appears 3 times. And the only other number that I have, or I guess I have 2 other numbers that repeat. The 2 other numbers that repeat I have 2 4s, and I also have 2 9s. But again, I have 8, which appears 3 times, which is more than any other. So my mode in this data set is 8, the number that appears most. Last but not least is your range. And your range is the spread of your data set. So it's looking from your lowest number to your highest number. And to find the range, you find the difference or you subtract those. So I'm going to look through my data set here, and I'm going to look for the highest number that I have. I'm actually only going to focus on week 1. So I'm going to look at my range of ice cream treats sold in the cafeteria just in week 1. So I find my low. My low is 3, and I find my high, which is 10. And to find the range, you simply subtract those. So you take your high minus your low, subtract, and that is how you get your range. So the range for week 1 is 7. Last but not least, we're going to ask you to know how to compare measures of central tendency. So you're going to see questions like this. The first one is compare the median of week 1 and week 2. Well, you just need to go through and find the median of both and then tell me what's different about them or tell me which one is larger. So the median of week 1, we already did this one, but if you put those in order, it's 3, 4, 5, 9, 9, 10. And if you remember, you had those 2 in the middle, so we added them up and got 14. Divide by 2. So my median of week 1 was 7. Now I'm going to look at week 2, and when I put those in order, I have 0, 4, 6, 8, 8, 8. And if I work myself towards the middle there, my 2 numbers are 6 and 8. So if you add those up, you get 14. And if you take 14 and divide it by 2, you get 7. So you would say that the median of week 1 and week 2 are the same. The second type of question might look something like, which is higher, the mean or the mode of week 2? So this time I'm only going to look at my numbers from week 2. And the first one that I need to find is the average of week 2, because that's your mean. So you add those up. So you have 6 plus 8 plus 4 plus 8 plus 8 plus 0, which I added it up before, and it was 34, and we divide by 6, if you remember this from earlier in the video, and you end up getting 5.66, and then we rounded and got the average of 5.7. Then if I look at the mode of week 2, I look at the number which appears most often, which we had, again, previously found or looked at, which was 8. So you would say, which is higher, which is the mode. All right, I'm looking forward to this unit. We have about 2 weeks to wrap it all up.